right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. And today is October 1st, 2019. This is episode number 26. And today we're going to talk about don't solve your problems alone. So this might be quite relevant for all of you as well. So before we jump in and get started, of course, we need to say hello to our panel, check in, see how they're doing. So let's start with Chris. Hey, Chris, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. We're so glad you're here. We all need some therapy today. We were just joking about that, so you'll see what we mean by this one. The theme should be really relevant to a lot of people today.
Right, it's a perfect topic.
A perfect topic, yes.
Thanks, Chris. Welcome, and Lavina.
Hey everybody, so glad to be here with you. Really missed you guys last week. I hope you're doing well and that today's process will help you understand why you need that therapy or not.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lavina. Welcome. And Natalie.
Yes, hello, welcome everybody. I'm happy to be here as well and looking forward to the therapeutic session of our gigging information.
This is true. I always feel much better once we've gone through these sessions and we can just kind of connect, we can kind of download, we can see, oh, I'm not alone. Because I think oftentimes we feel like we're struggling and we're struggling by ourselves. And really the theme for the day is don't solve your problems alone, right? There are others out there that can help, that can support, that can give guidance, that can help us along the path of correcting what's been spoiled. So let's take a look at what we're going to be taking a look at today. As again, just as a quick reminder, if you want to find any of the past BG5 episodes, and if you want to find any of the upcoming free webinars, please go to our website at bg5businessinstitute.com/courses. That's where you'll be able to see all of our courses listed, and anything in blue is any of the free webinars. So at any time you can go to the calendar and check out what's free and available. So that's where you can go to find that information. And what we are taking a look at today is correction, working on what has been spoiled. So we're taking a look at trait 18. And again, trait 18 is all about correction. So it's the vigilance and the determination to uphold and defend basic fundamental human rights. And it is the dissatisfaction that fuels a lifelong process of correcting and improving. So when we take a look at the 18, it is all about correcting, improving, making better, and working on what has been spoiled. So any thoughts just to get the conversation started when we take a look at correction? And then we'll take a look at what today's specific theme is and what we're correcting. So when we're correcting stuff, again, we don't want to do it by ourselves. So, because this is all about sharing too. So being able to, whenever we're taking a look at trait 18, the thematic here is all about sharing. So it's not to do it by yourself, it's collective. So it is all about sharing. So any thoughts to kick us off, Chris?
Well, just, a couple thoughts that come up here is really being discerning about what is yours and what is someone else's. And sometimes that can be helpful when, again, the theme is not doing it on your own. So it could be helpful to be talking with someone else and, working on yourself, but at the same time, really being clear, is it yours to even work on? And if so, then also having that collective support in helping you to see clearly, because that's why we go for therapy or coaching or consultation, is because we can't see ourselves clearly. And and oftentimes we're doing a lot of work that, it's just not even ours to do. So
yeah, really good point. How about for you, Lavina?
When I see this trait, I think of where it is in the body graph and circuitry and such. So some logical recognitions of how it shows up. This is the awareness, potential awareness of what is misaligned, what needs to be corrected, what needs to be perfected. So oftentimes this is about challenging authorities because it's not always true that they know exactly what's right for us, especially. We need to be able to do our own thing and have our own awareness. And I love that we got to hear from an actual past therapist about that you have to make sure that you're doing what's yours and you just let go of anything that's not, having clear boundaries. A lot of times people want to really be of service to others and they think they're doing something really good by saying, hey, did you know you did that wrong, or that could be better, and I love you, I want to make this more perfect, a life more wonderful, and here, let's perfect and correct. And nobody invited your opinion. So this is like where you kind of go, okay, just wait for a clear sense. This is the stream, we call it, of taste, the logical taste recognition of what's tasteful, what could be corrected and perfected, what needs to be brought out into the world through repetition and developing talent, and then leading to skills and expression of identification with a process that has been perfected, so much so that you're so enthusiastic. I mean, this process has a lot of moving parts and we can't do it alone.
Yeah.
It works so much better if we get together and we support each other. We collectively see and objectively see what has gone wrong, so to speak. And we collaborate, especially if you're collaborative, work together to be able to find the solutions for our problems, because that's where this is leading.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
What
What about for what? Yeah. Yeah. And what about for you, Natalie?
I have this in my design, and this is as shared by Lavina very beautifully, not to make it personal either to yourself or to others. And what I'm really a star at is to make myself wrong and to want to perfect myself like up to 200%, which is impossible. So this energy is collective. It's not meant to be correcting yourself or a specific individual. It's meant to correct the processes, the patterns and systems that are in place.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, that this is also, this is upholding and defending, the fundamental human rights as well. So again, it is more, on the collective scale. And when we use it for ourselves or towards ourselves to try to correct and perfect ourselves, or try to correct and perfect our loved ones, as, we were talking about earlier, sometimes, we need to choose our battles, and this can be brilliant in business. This can be absolutely brilliant in knowing what to correct and perfect in business. It can be a little dicey when we take a look at it on the personal level. If you're beating yourself up personally, making yourself wrong, feeling like you're not good enough and trying to perfect yourself, or, seeing what's wrong out there with, your loved one, your partner, your husband, your wife, your kids, your friends, and trying to tell them, how to perfect themselves, that might not be a place to use this particular trait.
I have a beautiful example, because when my daughter was, I believe the age of 6 or something, just in primary school, learning something, probably writing. And so she showed me, look, mommy, I wrote a word. I don't remember what it exactly was. I was like, oh wow. But if you correct it, I don't remember what I corrected. But if you do it like this, it's even better. And she was like pissed off, and she was like, Mom, I just learned to do this. I'm proud of what I already accomplished. And I was, instantly perfecting her. She was so good in, giving that back to me. But so small and so young as she was, that's really what this energy is not meant to do. But what I tend to sometimes do if I'm not aware of myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So correcting and perfecting. So let's kind of take a deeper look at kind of what's behind the energy today. And I found this really fascinating. So it's quality 5, which is therapy, right? And remember, quality 5 is also about the messenger. And if you do a any kind of Google search, if you go to Google, I just thought that this is the Google image for today. And so this is an American psychiatrist. So I just thought it was really appropriate that, it happened to be on the Quality 5 day when we're talking about therapy. So how perfect. So this is the strength to recognize a problem and to accept that it's beyond one's power to solve it alone, right? We're not here to solve it alone. The elevation is the potential for correction and judgment through relationships. This is the wisdom to both seek and provide guidance. So to seek and provide guidance. And remember, when we're where we are currently is, these are trait 18, has the background of bonding. If this happens to be your life work, your life purpose, part of how you fulfill your purpose is through bonding. And so it is the potential for correction and judgment through relationships and the wisdom to both seek and provide guidance. The challenge is where relationships cannot assist in correction, the potential of mental instability, the mental patient, the chronic instability, and the potential madness. So again, we can see how this ties into therapy, and also how, really we're built to work with and rely on each other, and, to provide guidance for each other, and to not do it all alone. And, sometimes when we try to do it all alone, we get in our heads, we start to make up stuff, right? And it can drive us mad. It can drive us crazy. So any thoughts or anything that you'd like to add here? I'm interested, Chris, in what you have to say, especially in being, a therapist as well.
Well, it's interesting because there's so many times people will be like, oh, this relationship is so challenging. I want out. And it's like, that's where we learn about ourselves. And when we are, for me, just personally, it's through, we learn about ourselves through the relationships and the challenges that are inherent. It doesn't mean you have to stay if you're not safe, or if it's really, really seriously not a good situation. But I think people are really quick to just be like, I'm out. And instead of inquiring and really looking at themselves and looking at the relationship and working through that and getting help, if and when necessary, which is, we cannot see what we cannot see.
Right.
And this weekend I had spent the weekend in retreat with myself co-leading. It was a retreat, and we had a group of advisors there. And it was amazing to see. They got to see themselves and they got to see each other in a completely different way that could only have happened in that group.
Mm.
And it could only have happened through that experience of seeing that they're not the only one, that the way that they're feeling inside, it's sort of like, oh my God, that's normal. It's like, yeah, like everybody feels that way at some point, but because they're trying to do it on their own or avoiding doing the work, there's a lot of shame and a lot of feeling like I'm the only one. I'm the one who's screwed up. There's something wrong with me. And it's like, when you really see that you're not uniquely effed up, like everybody has their thing, then that can only happen in the collective and in a safe collective, right? Yeah. And so it can be incredibly healing, incredibly powerful, and just sort of like some of that stuff lets go. So yeah, I mean, it's really cool to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Would you like to add on that, Lavina?
I just want to say how beautiful that is, and to be able to see, witness this visibly in our body graph, to be able to know that this is right for those of us who have, you know, aspects of this, and to be able to create those safe places to share where you're not judged because of whatever this, that, or the other thing, other things that are out there. You're able to come and just be yourself. You know, it's not logical that I would hate myself because this, that, or the other thing. Can you please help me see it so that I can see myself accurately? Like what you were saying, Chris. Yeah. We can't see ourselves accurately. It's really challenging too for a lot of us. You know, we all have our blind spots, our triggering, our wounding, and to be able to share the burden of that judgment, you know, and to see that we're not alone, that it's okay to have to move through these potential instabilities, and that we can come out on the other end.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has at some point in their life, if they lived long enough, they've had some kind of mental or emotional breakdown where everything feels like you're just melting and crumbling, and it's hard to get back up again on your own. It's supportive to help and helpful to have someone else to share that burden. So I think that this is one of those people who have this kind of quality in their design. Isn't it life work of service to be able to help people with this? So to be able to offer this, we can see that all quality fives have this ability, when someone else is in need, to step up and be that kind of, through listening, through providing, holding space, through providing solutions, practicality of being able to share that, you know, you're not alone. That in order for us to have a safer and more secure future, it's really helpful, like you were saying, Chris, to collectively share that burden. It's just a beautiful line.
Yeah. Yeah. What else would you like to add, Natalie? Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, there I go again. Yeah, I was just laughing because Linda, that I work with here in the Netherlands, Linda Brandwijk, she has this life work of service 18, I believe, even as her core essence. And I'm just checking, but I believe so. Oh, it doesn't. Of course, if when you want, yeah, she does. So she is brilliant in you know, being a coach and being recognized for bringing this, and also to yeah, really being of service and tuning in is what she does actually in her work. To my amazement sometimes, so she can yeah, get to things in such a way that, you know, I would go over or rushing over or whatever. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, I think a good point is raised too in, and I think I've also already mentioned this, but just not getting so in your head and feeling so alone. You know, one of the things about BG5, you know, it is not just the individual. It really is, how do we connect in partnerships? How do we connect in small groups? How do we connect in larger groups, you know, in a way that can be supportive and a way that we can connect at a whole you know, deeper level? You know, there's a lot of craziness going on in the world right now. You know, we're moving from one phase, we're moving from the era of planning into the era of the individual. And oftentimes the era of the individual is often misinterpreted as being, you know, very selfish and very just individual, but there's a magic that actually happens, that the more individual you are, the more you see how dependent, in a sense, you are on others. And, you know, the magic that this connection can bring when, you know, we're working together at a deeper level. You know, how we worked in the past in the era of planning is kind of working alone for the good of the tribe. we're moving towards an era where it's being fully yourself and fitting into exactly where you're designed to fit in, right? And being able to connect even at a deeper level to be able to support each other. And again, that wisdom to both seek and provide guidance. That's, you know, that's what we're here for. We're here to provide, in a sense, this outer authority, you know, the sharing of others, so that, again, we know that we're not alone. And none of us are alone. You know, we all have people in our lives to support us, you know, people around us to support us, people that are going through the same thing, just like what Chris was talking about in the workshop that she was helping to lead, the retreat, you know, knowing that it's okay.
Yeah.
That it's okay. Others
Yeah,
have gone through it, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
I
no,
was just
please.
thinking about, you know, why I left therapy. Everybody was coming, you know, coming to me, and as a therapist, you're trained to figure out what's wrong, right? What needs
Mhm.
correcting. And so as if there is a norm, what's normal, and
Mhm.
that everything else that's it's out of the norm, right? And
Mhm.
so people would come to me, they're like, well, this is wrong and this is wrong. And I was really, you know, also looking at myself going, you know, oh, but I got to fix this. I got to change this belief. I got to shift this and shift and change. And we get very caught up in beliefs and beliefs and beliefs. And there's a lot of stuff out there about doing our belief work, which is great. Don't get me wrong. We need that. However, what I got, and the reason that I left the kind of the doing therapy, at least the way I was, and the way it's taught, and the way that it's sort of standard, even if we have this sort of like it's all okay and we're just moving through something, there's still a collective belief that there's something wrong. And I got that we cannot make someone or something all right by focusing on what's wrong, because you will always find evidence for it, and you will always find more. So
Wow.
just as soon as you think you got it, there's like, well, but then there's this. And so then you're spiraling again. And it was like, how can I show people what's right about them? And that's when I was introduced into human design, and then of course found BG5, and which is human design in business. So it's like really even looking at business, and like, it's not about what's wrong. It's about what needs correction, what's right. And where could you do more of what's right instead of trying to fix what's wrong? Because that's, you're never going to get anywhere. It's a bottomless pit, because everybody's going to come in and say, well, there's this wrong and there's this wrong and there's this wrong, because it's all their opinion. And that's where the collective, everybody's opinion about it can also pull you down. So it's like, you don't want to do it alone, but you really got to pick your people, because,
Right.
you know, so it's really this whole concept of like, what's right about this and how do I tweak it? I tell people it's usually when they come to me, it's not like we're having to do massive change. It's like a couple clicks on the dial to get you aligned with who you really are. It's easier to be you than to not be you.
Yes.
And when we understand that, then we're not so busy trying to fix ourselves, and we're showing up and we're being a contribution to the collective. We're being a contribution to moving things forward. And so therapy, my vision is that therapy will start to change from this diagnostic to what's the deviation from the norm in the negative sense. And it's sort of like, instead of deviating from the norm, why wouldn't the norm just become be you?
Yes.
So that, anyway, that's my little, I'll get my soapbox, but yeah.
Beautifully,
Yeah.
beautifully said.
Thank you.
Beautifully said. Did
That
you want to
was
add something, Lavina?
pure brilliance. That was gorgeous, Chris. Thank you
you
so much for sharing all of that, because all of it is so apparent and true. And it's backed up by the mechanics. So that's what I was really getting excited. I'm like, I'm hearing it. Oh my God, that's amazing. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, the mechanics support it. Like that, that's real. Like our constructs about reality are our constructs about reality. Design shows us the mechanics of reality. So if we're trying to fix our constructs, we will always come up with a new construct to fix the last construct. But if you just deal with what is, you can actually shift something. You can actually make the changes. And it doesn't take 10 years of deep analysis. It's like, oh God, I've been doing that. Oh, okay, well, I can stop.
Yeah.
No judgment. And that's what's interesting, because this is judgment, right? So it's like it releases the judgment. Judgment locks us in. You unlock it when you start to, it unlocks when you start to see it correctly. It's the thing that locks you into the matrix and the program. It unlocks us too. And that's that whole thing of, we got to look at what's right. It doesn't mean there's not pain. It doesn't mean that there's stuff that does not need to stop, but we got to look at what the underlying cause is. And that's where our constructs, I think, have been off in therapy and coaching and a lot of places.
Yeah.
In business. Yeah.
Again, brilliantly shared.
Thank you.
The angels are singing over here. It's like I've got tears in my eyes.
Pass the plate.
It's spoken like a true 5-1. You know, you have this message that I really feel and I can resonate with. And one of the reasons why I'm so emotionally touched is because all of us have our variation of this experience. But personally, I've gone through those hellish, nightmares of that self-judgment. And the only thing that pulled me out of it was being able to see myself accurately through this lens of this system.
Yes.
And it's life-changing.
It's life-changing.
Yeah.
It is.
Did you want to add something, Natalie?
Yeah, not really. So, amen.
Exactly.
So, yeah, life-changing. I'm just thinking of, it's actually the life work theme of upheaval, the 18.5 and Linda has it, and she has such a life-changing case study on the BG5 blog on her process, being this 18.5 in her core essence, and my life-changing, blog is there too. So yeah, it truly is. If you understand who you are to be and not try to fix all your mental. You had a beautiful word for that today, Chris. Your constructs of what it should be like. Then So that's
Wow.
I think the best therapy is BG5.
Exactly.
Understanding your design. Yes.
Exactly. I mean, I know for myself personally, I've shared this many times. I've spent most of my life trying to fix myself. Like something was broken, something was wrong, something needed correcting. And, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying to fix myself and realizing that there is nothing to fix. And like Chris was saying, that's just, are you living in a healthy way according to what your design is? And I love what you said, Chris. That's actually much easier. Because that's how you're designed, versus living out of the shadows, trying to prove yourself, trying to be in a hurry, trying to be mentally certain, not letting go of things, getting distracted, all of those things, not knowing when enough is enough. It's very easy to get distracted by, all of our shadows, all of the stuff that's going on. And when we can truly live, true to who we are, not only that, when we're talking about judgment, this is something for me too, with human design and BG5, is really having a deeper compassion for others. Because when you can see their design and you can understand how they operate, you can see that they're completely operating in their shadows, but also what their brilliance is. And when you can do that, and when you can see that, not only is there less judgment on yourself, right? There's also less judgment on others as well.
Exactly. I was talking with a woman yesterday who has a lot of definition in her design. She's an express builder. and she's like, I've tried everything. And we were talking about, you know, it was in a, you know, sort of a strategy session call, just informational call. And I have her chart up and I'm just looking at it and she's telling me some of the things that are going on and I'm making notes and I'm looking at her design. I'm like, of course. Right. And we started talking about how she had seen a therapist and her therapist said, you know, if you took any one of these things, it would take, you know, at least a year to get through that. She's like, you have many, many things. This is not like overnight. This is like years of therapy. And I just looked at her, I go, no, it's not. I can tell you exactly what's going on, the dynamics, and give you a practical solution for each one of those things, something that you can practice. There's nothing wrong here. And by the way, the thing that you think is the reason why you can't make any money is actually the reason why you can make money. That's not only that when we take it to the business, it's not only is there nothing really wrong with you, but what you think is wrong with you is actually where you're supposed to make money. Yeah. And it's like, what? I mean, hello. I was like, no, you do not need years of therapy. You can, we are going to do this work. That's the thing. Like, it's not about like an intensive analysis. When you go down this path, it's fun. It's like, oh, wow, cool. It's not like, oh my God, I'm such a piece of crap. It's more like, look at that. Oh, look at that. Like you said, compassion, compassion for ourselves and other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
and
a map.
Exactly. And laughing with your monkey minds, like, oh, there I go again. But
exactly,
not, you know, not taking it personal, these constructs.
Yeah.
And I think this is because Rachel here in our live audience in the Zoom room is asking, what about the mirror effect? And I think that's what she's referring to. But I asked her to rephrase. Would you like to share live, Rachel? I love human design in BG5, but I still see that what we see should be regarded in a mirror-like reflection, although observing is okay.
I'm not understanding that.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I think maybe what she's saying is that, see if this lands, Rachel, is that there's a lot out there that's sort of like whatever's showing up in your world is a mirror reflection of who you are. So on one hand, in some ways that's true, because in our profit potential coaching, we look at ourselves as the fractal, right? Like we have a fractal line of people that are going to show up in our business. Once we really start to activate that and see that, they'll start to show up, and it's in your own design. But there's this is where I just have to say, I think in some ways we've been, yes, there's that interaction, right? Like we attract people. There's electromagnetics, there's aspects of the design and partnership, and that we learn from ourselves through the dynamic of the design and the exchange of energy, where we complete one another, where we don't, where we activate or, you know, do this to one another, or where we just stand alongside and go, oh yeah, you see that? Yeah, I see that. That's exactly it, right? The thing about this mirroring, and I could be off, but this is just my hit, is that sometimes there's this thing sort of like, well, if it showed up in your life, then it's somewhere inside you. And so it's like your shadow that's being mirrored outside. And I actually would like to just say, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that our shadows and distractions are how we see the world and get distracted, but not necessarily that because it's in us, it's going to show up outside of us. So then if it shows up outside of us, we have more work to do. That's exactly what this trait would have us do. That's exactly what there's a lot of stuff out there in the self-help industry that says, well, you attracted it, therefore it's inside you and you created this reality. And I'm like, what the hell is that? That's just shaming. That's just putting more on us so that they can sell more books. Don't listen to that crap. It's crap. So anyway, okay, I'm on my soapbox again. I'm just gonna gently step off it. Anyway, so Lavina's like,
no, exactly.
Anyway, Rachel, did that answer your question about mirroring? I'm on fire today, people. I am on fire.
I think we get a thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, it's really about how are you how do you get hooked in? How do you get hooked in by your shadows and distractions, by what's happening out there? It's just a great piece of information, and the mechanics of it versus having to analyze ourselves, you know, into, oh, how did I create that? Why did I create that? There's a person that would always push my buttons, and someone said to me, well, she must be a mirror. And I was like, I do not see her as a mirror. I don't see it. I don't like this person. I don't like this person. I don't feel good when she's in my space. And then I learned about human design, and I was like, oh, we just have an electromagnetic that does not work. There's no more analysis. I see her and I'm like, hey, wish you well. I'm not analyzing me. I'm not analyzing her. I'm not talking about her. I'm not making up stories about her. I'm not making up stories about me.
Yeah.
There's no mirror. It's just an electromagnetic, and it's done.
Yeah.
That's freedom.
Yeah.
That's freedom.
Right on.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Lavina.
Bingo, he said.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing. It's speaking to some really core truths, stuff that goes way down below the surface that you would learn like a decade into studying the system of how deeply we are affected by other people in our lives. And we need to learn how to make our differentiation, our distinction between us and them, and not take on stuff that leads you to try and mentally masturbate to make yourself feel better, you know, or make that judgment of making them wrong and bad. Therefore, I'm good and everything's much better because now I feel like I'm justified in my distaste. It's just a natural letting go of trying to illify, trying to give somebody a label through, you know, something wrong with you or something wrong with me. Heaven forbid that's something way worse when you do that to yourself. What's wrong with me? Maybe I need therapy because I can't stop thinking about killing this person because I hate them so much. You know, whatever it is.
Yeah, right.
I'm exaggerating, dramatifying to make it, you know, fit with the topic, but it's really, really true. This system helps you to let go of trying to make up reasons and stories about why somebody is the way that they are, and just let it be and agree to have boundaries and distance, because we don't all gel together.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're just not designed. We're designed to connect with certain people and designed not to connect with others.
Exactly. Exactly.
It
And then
relieves.
you have your energy when you're not trying to figure it all out or analyzing. You have energy to create.
Yes.
You have energy to be with people that you love and express your gifts in their highest form, instead of like that small little shadowy, like I suck self. And you know, God bless therapists, but we're trained to figure out what's wrong. So if someone comes in and says there's something wrong, we'll be like, it was your parents.
Right.
It was this.
Blame.
That. Right. Shame and blame. And now there's brilliant therapists out there, and there's a lot of good that therapy does, because it really does help you go. But there's also, in coaching is the same industry. I mean, there's a lot out there that just sort of blankets, like, oh, well, that's just how it goes. And I'm like, we are actually creating more disillusion than freedom.
Yeah.
By our constructs of why these things happen. And when we just go to mechanics, there's no construct.
Yeah. There's no shame. There's no blame.
Shame.
There's no judgment.
No victims.
It's just mechanics.
Exactly.
Roz?
Which sounds, people go, oh, that sounds so cold. And it's like, it sounds like freedom to me, actually.
Yeah.
And more warmth and connection.
Yeah.
Ra's first book was called A Manual to No Fault Living. No fault. Not your fault.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That.
It's just total side note, but it's just kind of funny. My dad, he was a no fault attorney. So, you know, so just kind of, you know, it's like no fault, just kind of seeing all of the situations, and there's no fault, there's no blame, there's no shame. There's just dealing with what is. Yeah. Beautiful. Any comments from either our panel live in Zoom or from Facebook?
See anything in Facebook except for a question: is this the trait that is nicknamed the BS detector? And that one is actually, what I know of it, way I understand it, is 57, because that's intuition, which brings a penetrating awareness of the now, an acoustic attunement to truth or not. So that's something that's interesting.
Yeah.
I
But
thought
this
the
one really
61
has an
was too.
awareness of
Yep.
what could be fixed, you know, what needs to be corrected.
Yeah.
So this is more of a visual thing than a hearing thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I just wanted to share something kind of on a personal note, because it kind of fits in with this correction. You know, here's my mom. My mom suffered a stroke last week, but thankfully she's getting much better, and you know, and it's through care, right? And even the cat is like huge therapy. And my sisters and I have been really working together, so not trying to solve it by ourselves, right, which is the theme for today, and knowing that we can depend on each other. And so it's been a really great connection with my sisters and really supporting my mom. And then, you know, people have been coming out of the woodwork, like her neighbor came over and brought us soup and biscuits. And we found out that she used to be a nurse that we didn't even know. And so, you know, she took my mom's vitals, and yesterday, you know, we were really, really concerned. And yesterday she's like up and around and moving and she doesn't need the walker anymore. And she's very independent. She put together 2 puzzles. I mean, she was just on fire. So, but again, it's one of those things that it's something that needs correcting. And sometimes, you know, sometimes it shows up in a physical way, you know, whether it be a stroke or a heart attack, or, you know, something very physical where something needs to be corrected. Right. And it can, you know, it can be sort of that 2x4 across the head saying, wake up, you know, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with you physically. There's something wrong that's not working well. And, you know, and our hope is she comes out even better on the other side. And like I said, she's doing great. And so I think it is, you know, so taking a look at that kind of correction too, at a very physical level, that if we're not operating correctly, you know, if there's something that we're not aware of, sometimes it shows up in the physical realm where something needs to be corrected, and we need that support, right? We can't do it alone. She couldn't do it alone. And my sister couldn't do it alone. So working together, you know, and to really support her and work it through. So just seeing things at that level as well. And just real quickly, I know we're at the end of time, but I was just kind of taking a look at individuals whose birthday it is, and it's kind of you know, this is the life work theme of upheaval. So this is that you have a heretical view or beguiling innocence, always ready to provoke or to disturb or to challenge what isn't working. Therapists who know that therapy must be practical to work. And it's just kind of interesting, you know, we have Jimmy Carter, who is the 39th US president. We have the ex-prime minister of the UK, Theresa May. And both of them had kind of a little bit of a tumultuous, you know, time as the president or the prime minister. And so, you know, just kind of this state of upheaval. So,
and
you know,
also they both have a collective role.
Yes, and they both have a collective role. Yeah. It was interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, kind of sharing kind of all the stuff that's going on for me right now. But she's from England, and she was talking about Theresa May. Just this is kind of an interesting side note, but she said that one of the things that was that people didn't really like about her is that she didn't connect to people emotionally. So people never, it's that they felt she was cold, that they never felt really emotionally connected with her. So I just think it's interesting looking at her chart. Again, no shame, no blame. But if you take a look at her chart, she has emotional intelligence completely undefined. Right. And that can either show up, you know, as completely cold, or it can be also show up as like over emotional, either way. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting, I don't know much about Theresa May, but I just thought that was an interesting perspective from someone from England in taking a look at, you know, and then looking at her chart as she was describing her, you know, what her thoughts were on Theresa May. So
That's great. That's a great insight. And then Jimmy Carter, who's different. He was definitely more warm, or, right, emotional, if you will. Not
yeah,
emotional,
he had
but
kind
you
of
know what I
that
mean.
beguiling
He did.
innocence.
Yeah, he did. Exactly. Like that.
You know, and did a lot of after his presidency, did a lot of humanitarian work as well.
Yep.
You know, which is also part of the 18 as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just, again, fascinating to see all the different ways. I mean, I'm just in awe in what we took a look at today, in all the different ways that it shows up. We just saw it show up as Google's, theme
Image.
for today, showing up in, in therapy, and what you shared, Chris, showing up, in leaders, all of the different things that we can take a look at in different ways that it shows up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So good.
So with that, again, if you are new to BG5 or new to human design, you can get a free report at bg5businessinstitute.com and get a sense of what your career design is. Again, you can find the past episodes of BG5 Live on Facebook, on Vimeo. Also, if you go to bg5businessinstitute.com/courses, you'll be able to see the past episodes there as well. So you can go back in time, and we have the recordings of all the BG5 Lives there. And also, Chris has just started the communication and action workshop of our Profit Potential series. So you can still jump in, I think, Chris. This is kind of the last chance to kind of jump in. So if you're interested, again, you can also go to the courses. What day was it? The 24th. So last Tuesday. So a week from today, you still have access to the free introductory, or the first class, I should say, or the first session of the workshop, if you want to take a look at that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've come to the end of another BG5 Live. Last words to wrap everything up. Who would like to start? You want to start, Natalie?
Amen. No, I don't. Yeah. This is really a sink in, and yeah, don't make yourself wrong. Session.
Very practical advice, not to make yourself wrong for anything that your mind thinks about yourself. It is not wrong, as in the I'm going to hell wrong. Just see it, be with it, process it, be aware of it. No judgments. It's too much self-judgment in the world, too many judgments out there. And one of the interesting things, I looked at our advanced energetics of what's going on right now at this moment, and underneath that 5 is, underneath that 5 is another 5. So it's just this more of this energy to want to fix things. And in order to fix things, sometimes we need to let go of those judgments. They're not serving you. Yeah.
Really good point. Really good point.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about right now, we're in Libra at the time of this recording, and it's really and it's about balance, right? And so, and the collective of where are you out of balance? And if you look at it, maybe just where am I out of balance in my expression or something like that, versus there's something that needs to be fixed and there's something wrong. It's like, wow, where could I bring more balance in my expression? And again, just like Natalie and Lavina said, there's no judgment, there's nothing wrong. It's just, where are you making it wrong, when in reality it could just be a mechanical issue.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, this has been an amazing session. Thanks for everything you shared, and Chris, just really spot on. And remember, the theme for the day is don't solve your problems alone, right? Don't feel like you're an island. Sometimes just talking it out, just being able to like, sometimes you just need to verbally vomit to get all of that stuff out of your head and to really be able to see it from a clearer place.
Yes.
And so, connecting with others. If you're struggling, ask for help, right? And if you see someone in need, support them. Like I said, it's made all the difference, even like I said, on the physical side with my mom and working with my mom and getting her better, knowing that we have that support makes all the difference, because you don't feel like you're alone.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you're alone, that find support.
Yeah.
So, and we're here to support each other.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, each and every one of you who have joined us live and Facebook Live or in our BG5 Zoom room. And for all of you who are watching the recording, thank you, thank you, thank you. Really so great to have you all here. And like I said, really profound discussion today. So really appreciate all of you. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. All right. Bye, everyone.